that I've gone through, throughout my career and my life.
Mo, welcome back, WWE fans. Pro Wrestling Insider in the house with your daily dose of matches, highlights, and news. Ring that bell and let's roll. What unfolded in Paris was one of the most shocking, emotionally charged storyline moments WWE has produced in years. A moment that had fans out of their seats, commentators scrambling for answers, and the entire arena buzzing with disbelief as Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the standard bearer of the modern era, found himself at the center of a sudden violent ambush that changed the complexion of the show instantly, not because of real injury or danger, but because the story was crafted to feel raw, unpredictable, and unlike anything fans had expected from the night's opener. Roman Reigns' triumphant start turned into chaos. Roman had just wrapped up what was supposed to be a celebratory victory, soaking in the cheers of the Paris crowd, flashing that familiar smirk of satisfaction, and acknowledging the audience in that iconic tribal chief manner when, in true dramatic fashion, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker stormed the scene, blindsiding him with a coordinated attack clearly designed to make a statement and shake the foundation of the WWE hierarchy, catching Roman at a moment when he least expected an ambush and when fans least expected any further action. The calculated blindside from Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker. Reed and Breakker's assault was laid out as a precise, meticulously timed storyline maneuver, with both men choosing their moment to strike right when Roman's back was turned and the crowd was at its loudest, creating the perfect environment for a swerve that would create shockwaves throughout the arena, as Reed launched a massive splash and Breakker followed with aggressive stomps, all scripted to emphasize the overwhelming force of their alliance and their desire to make an immediate impact on the main event scene. Officials swarm the ring as the arena erupts. In a display of dramatic urgency that WWE storytelling is known for, producers, referees, and trainers swarmed the ring in an attempt to break up the assault, shouting warnings and stepping in between blows, while the commentary team tried to make sense of the chaos. The fans in the building letting out a mix of gasps, boos, and stunned silence as the tribal chief, a man rarely caught off guard, was overwhelmed by the sheer size and intensity of the two attackers working in sync. Breakker and Reed escorted out of the arena. As part of the unfolding angle, authority figures stormed down the ramp and ordered both Reed and Breakker to be removed from the arena, shouting consequences and demanding order, while the two aggressors responded with smug smirks and defiant gestures, playing perfectly into their roles as rising villains who were fully aware that their actions had just reshaped the locker room landscape and painted a target on their backs as two men unafraid to go after the biggest dog in the yard. Backstage fallout sends shockwaves through the locker room. Once the cameras cut backstage, the scripted tensions only escalated as superstars reacted to the attack, with some expressing disbelief and others voicing frustration that such a bold statement had been made on international soil, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and raising the question of who might step up to defend Roman's honor, or whether Roman would allow this humiliation to go unanswered when he eventually returned to confront the men who dared to strike him down. A family legacy stands firm amid the storyline turmoil. Within the narrative, members of the legendary Anoa'i family were shown in segments expressing anger and disbelief, hinting at potential reprisals and making it clear that no one attacks a member of their bloodline without facing consequences, playing into the deep-rooted themes of heritage, pride, and family unity that have always been central to Roman's character, and adding emotional weight to an already explosive storyline moment. WWE management scrambles to restore order. As the episode unfolded, backstage officials were seen holding emergency meetings, speaking in hushed tones, and debating disciplinary actions in character, creating a sense that Reed and Breakker had crossed a major line that demanded swift repercussions from management while setting up future developments about whether the duo would face suspensions, fines, or perhaps even be forced into matches where they'd have to answer for their actions in the ring. Roman Reigns' status becomes the centre of the story. With the audience left wondering when Roman would resurface, the storyline began teasing updates about his condition, focusing on whether he would seek revenge, regroup with his family, or bide his time until the perfect opportunity to strike back presented itself, transforming the tribal chief from the untouchable ruler into a wounded, furious king whose inevitable return would carry emotional and dramatic weight. Superstars across WWE react with outrage. In character-driven backstage interviews, performers like Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, and others weighed in on the ambush, some calling it disrespectful to the locker room code, others warning that Reed and Breakker had ignited a dangerous fire that could consume them, and a few acknowledging, albeit begrudgingly, that the attack was an effective way to put themselves on the map, showcasing the complexity of WWE's locker room dynamics and keeping fans invested in every superstar's stance. The Paris crowd left in shocked silence. The audience in Paris played a major role in the storytelling, their live reactions captured throughout the segment as they stood with hands over their mouths, exchanged nervous glances, and began chanting Roman's name, creating an electric and emotional environment that amplified the severity of the moment and underscored how deeply fans connect with the tribal chief, not just as a performer, but as a character whose presence defines modern WWE. WWE teases a larger conspiracy behind the ambush. To deepen the storyline, subtle hints were dropped that Reed and Breakker's attack may not have been an independent decision, suggesting the involvement of unseen forces or rivals lurking backstage, setting the stage for future twists and making fans question what greater machinations might be unfolding behind the scenes, and who might be pulling the strings of these two rising challengers eager to carve out their place atop the company. Fan reactions flood social media. In the days following the episode, fans around the world took to social media to react, some furious, some heartbroken, and many simply stunned, as the hashtags connected to Roman's storyline began trending, with fan-made tributes, theories, predictions, and passionate debates cropping up everywhere, proving once again that wrestling's power lies not only in the physicality inside the ring, but in the emotional investment fans bring to every unexpected twist. What comes next for the tribal chief? The biggest question looming over the entire storyline is simple. What will Roman Reigns do next, and how will he respond when he finally stands face to face again with the men who blindsided him in Paris? Will he return angrier than ever, bring backup from his family, seek retribution through official channels, or wait until the perfect moment to unleash vengeance of his own, setting the stage for one of the most anticipated confrontations WWE has built in years?